Welcome to the Soul Explorers. I'm Heather Lawson. I had the honor to chat with Alex Stefan, a trained hypnotherapist and the co-founder of Extraordinaries, a Psi training program created alongside his good friend Dalia Burgoyne. Alex has had an interest in the extraordinary from a very young age. Exploring psychic abilities and energy work led him to a career in hypnosis and NLP, and now trains others to explore their own psychic abilities. The mission of Extraordinaries is to get as many people as possible to experience the extraordinary, including Mindsight, Telepathy, Telekinesis, and Teleportation. Their mission is to keep pushing the boundaries of psychic abilities and human potential.
First off, people need to realize that this is not something special. This is like it's extra dash ordinaries because it's like it's a little bit above ordinary.
Yeah.
This is not something special. Everybody has these things available. Secondly, it does not take like we're going up against these ideas in society and culture and media that does not like science is telling us this is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going up against like this massive barrier of belief that science is telling us this is not possible. And for the small few of us that are like, yes, this is possible, we're fighting the belief that, oh, this is very difficult to train and to develop, which is like not at all my experience. This has not been my experience at all. And each time we do these trainings, it gets easier and easier, and people go further, they do more. It's just unbelievable. And the third idea, and I think the third idea is by far the most important. These abilities lead us to a form of telepathy, and telepathy leads us to more connection and connection among each other, and kindness and compassion, because with understanding what people are trying to communicate to you, when it means with what they feel as well, then you feel the love. I mean, think of all the times that we argue in our families, like with people that we love, brothers, sisters, parents, kids, and we get into these arguments. But if you could actually communicate and you could also receive what's being communicated, the love, there wouldn't be any arguments.
Exactly. I say
And
this to my
imagine,
husband a lot. I say, if we could communicate that way without the tone of voice, without all those other, things getting in the way, and just communicate exactly what I want to say in him, it'd be great. But
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
true.
And the whole world, all of humanity would be in such a better place with even a slightly more developed ability to of telepathy. People would be kind to each other, people would connect, people would be understanding. There wouldn't be any more um, lies, deceits, like on such a mass scale, with what's
Yeah.
happening in the world.
Be much more clear communication. Yeah. Well, let's go to start talking about how are there any ways that we can start believing more and getting rid of that programming that we've been given, because that's what, when I train myself, which I do every night with different things, it's there. And you really, as much as you believe, as much as I wholeheartedly believe in all of this, it's all there. So are there any tips that you can give anybody that just to kind of get around that?
So I can tell you from my own personal experience, because I'm the one that, like, I do this, right? Even when I'm trying something new and I'm trying to level up, it's not easy.
Mhm.
That's normal. That's totally normal. So first off, accept that that's normal. These beliefs are deeply rooted in us, um, and that's normal, because we need to have this reality to be structured in a certain way so that we can be safe, we can trust what's going on, we can predict and expect what's going to happen. What does help is seeing this stuff, like seeing it either on video. That's how I started with my first telekinesis with Cywheel when I was 15 or 16. I saw a YouTube video and somebody was moving it under a glass dome. And that's why I got started. So being able to see it kind of starts to disrupt that lack that that belief that this isn't possible. Seeing it in person is most effective, though.
I bet. I can't
Yeah.
imagine. I bet that energy in that room with everybody and seeing it, but just also the energy with everyone around. And that takes me to also self-training versus being in that group setting too. I was at the Psy Games and I've never felt an energy like I felt there. So I can't imagine when being in the setting where you're training these abilities, how that can just all come together like that. That's where I discovered Dahlia and then, you eventually. But um, seeing it for sure, especially in person, has to be incredible. Which one day I hope I will. Um, that's awesome. So 15, you were 15 when you started training.
Yeah, 15 or 16. I was in high school, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't in my last year. I'm pretty sure I was in like, junior or the one after that.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. So what did you first do? What was the first type of telekinesis that you were able to
Well,
start
like
doing?
the first actual introduction to psi stuff was younger. I was like I think I was about
Mhm.
12, and that was with a book about Silva Ultramind, if you're familiar with that.
No.
So Jose Silva, I think Dr. Jose Silva, he
Mhm.
basically developed, um, he came across binaural beats, and he realized that if you put somebody in an alpha brainwave state, they can start to heal themselves, and they start to have better access to non-local information. So that was cool, and I read that book, and then I read books on like ESP, extrasensory perception, and like psychic stuff. And when I was really young, because my parents would pick up these books in
Mhm.
at garage sales and stuff, like used books.
Mhm.
And then I was really really lucky that my parents took me to a Silva Ultramind weekend workshop.
Really?
Yeah,
So they were supportive. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. I was 12 at the time, which is crazy.
Wow.
Um,
That's a huge blessing.
Huge, huge.
Because I
Yes,
think a lot of this too comes from, our parents, the ones that we look up to the
yes,
most, because that's where, and not to put my parents down, but that's where a lot of my things, I just pushed it back because I'd go to them, I would say, this happened, I heard this, I saw this, and they would say, oh, that's just your imagination. So that's wonderful.
yeah. I was very lucky. Um, Also, because we weren't like my parents financially weren't wasn't great, and these workshops are expensive. So incredibly lucky that they made an investment like that.
Wow. Wow. So you went to one of those workshops, correct? You went to the actual physically went there. And then what did you discover there?
There we did healing. We did remote viewing, where I found I was actually pretty decent at that. Um, and there was a couple other things. I played around with some stuff. A few years later, then I'm talking like a few years, like 14, something like that,
Mhm.
15. My parents took me to a Reiki. My mom took me to a Reiki thing. So
Mhm.
I got like Reiki level, I think 1 and 2 or something like
Mhm.
that. And I
I just got that and I'm 40 something. So that's great to get that so young.
yeah, then I got that, and I seem to be decent at that too. And then came the telekinesis experience.
Wow. Wow. That's so cool. And then
Yeah,
uh, what was that physical thing that you were able to move or adjust when you first did it?
the first one is like the usual thing that I suggest everybody to start off with. It's a side wheel. It's
Mhm.
like little square tin foil piece on a needle. It's on a needle so that the friction is as minimal as possible.
Gotcha.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a toothpick, right?
Yeah, it's a toothpick.
For anybody that wants to start, a needle is even better because it's even
Okay.
less friction. Yeah, and then the tinfoil sits on top, and it's very very light,
Mhm.
and it's extremely responsive to any sort of movement.
It's very interesting because I've been, like I said, practicing this daily, and I can tell. I can tell when whatever the either I don't want to. I'll just say tapped in. I don't know what other terms to use, but I can tell what I am and I'm what I'm not. It is very specific, and it's not the wind. It's not my breathing. It's just I'll sit down, and usually I just put my hands under it, and it'll just. Shh. And this morning and last night, nothing, nothing. So and now I'm getting, just following the things that I've learned from you, and just trying to believe more, I'm starting to look at it and just look and just putting that intention in. And I swear to God, it's moving. It's
Yeah,
just from
yeah,
my like, and I'm not trying to strain too hard, but it's really, really incredible when you start consistently doing it and seeing that it's actually working for you, and sometimes just not, which also helps me. Like it help those failure times or whatever, not really failure, but it helps me realize that this is real. This is
this is
that
real. Yeah.
I'm doing it at specific times, whatever's happening at my body. And at that time, I'm not sure, but it's really, it's really incredible. It's mind blowing. It really is.
Yeah, so this is important for people to understand as well when they're starting off. We are prediction machines, like our brains are prediction machines, and that's very important for us to be safe and like the world to be structured. This is so outside of what's normal. Just because you see it happen once does not mean that now you've completely updated and recreated your reality to accept and adopt this new belief. So like take your time with it and be okay that hey you need to keep doing it because it's not really a skill. At least from all of my everybody that I've worked with, my own experiments, my own observations, it does not seem like this is a skill at all. It seems like if you thought you could move a car. I don't know, maybe a car is a lot, I don't know, maybe there is some level, but definitely something like a chair, because there's plenty of stories and anecdotes of people moving chairs,
Yeah.
and they don't have that. Like it's not like they practice with a chair; they were practicing with a saw wheel or something very light. But then, in a moment of necessity, they were able to. A chair was moved. So there's lots of these kinds of stories and anecdotes. Um, but because our brains, our minds are prediction machines, you really need to like really add on each almost like each coat of experience. Add more and more coats
Right.
until you are fully convinced, and it'll take a bit of time that, okay, yeah, this is real. Because even myself, so when I was a kid and I told my very close friend at the time, he laughed at me so hard
Mhm.
that I started doubting whether or not it was real. Is it heat from my hands? Is it like, am I creating static on my hands?
Yes.
Is
Same things that
there
have popped in my head. Yep.
Yeah, is there wind? And like it's not this stuff doesn't go away.
Right.
And when that comes in as well, and then you're like, okay, let me prove it. So like I'll stand back from it.
Yeah.
Oh, then it doesn't work at all. It might take you, I don't know how long. But then before, when these ideas weren't in your head, you could stand back and it would work fine.
And it'll work.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden now it's like now these ideas are in there. It's like now it doesn't work because you're questioning again. It's like, is it
Yeah.
real?
Yep. It's so hard to get over that. It's definitely possible, but it is. And that's why I hold back. I want to share all this with so many people, especially my friends, but I don't, because I don't want to have that negative. I don't want any negativity coming into me because I want to do it. I want to prove to myself that I can do it. And then in my head, I'm like, one day I'm going to show them. But the day I go to show them, it probably won't, it probably look like a fool. I don't know. Who knows? But because my
If I
head
could
might be starting to question because they're with me.
if I could say something for the benefit of anybody listening and for yourself, something that I mentioned in my trainings is so after I told my friend, and I went back to do it. I regressed maybe like 3 weeks, maybe a month.
Okay.
I had already been practicing for 2 months or so, and I went back a significant amount, and then
Really?
I had to like catch up on that again. So your intuition to not tell is like bang on. I really recommend, even when you know you can do it and you know you can show them, like I've shown this to people, and if people are not ready, their reactions are not great. They
Yeah.
get scared, they freak out.
Yeah. Oh, I, yeah. Because I'll even explain some things to some people who I think are open minded, and I'll see that in their face, like this fear. So I step back a little bit. So for me to actually do it and try to attempt something in front of them, I can't imagine. So yeah, listen to your intuition, people. If you feel like not sharing it with people, don't, because you want to build this for yourself. and believe for yourself. So you also talk about too, like when you're practicing, don't stick on one thing for a long period of time, move on. And that at first I didn't quite understand, but then it clicked one day. Because as the wheel goes, let's say you're doing the side wheel, it's a certain motion, and then it's going to be another motion using a cup or a ping pong ball or something like that, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the biggest mistake like people make, or one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and myself included. I stuck with the side wheel for so long, and like you said, it trains a certain kind of movement pattern.
Mm,
So you'll see like people that I've worked with that have mainly used the side wheel, and I introduce them to putting like a cup or something on a big water tray.
mm.
So on a water tray, it's great because then you can infinite degrees of freedom in terms of movement. You know, back,
Okay, yeah,
forth, left, right,
that's true. Yeah.
diagonally, every way on one plane.
Mm.
Whereas side wheel is just counterclockwise and clockwise. You put a cup or like a little bowl, like a little thing to float, whatever it is, and say, okay, play around with this, move it. You'll see that what's happening is it's spinning. They're spinning it at first.
Because
Yeah.
it's used to going that way with the
Yeah,
wheel. That
yeah.
makes sense.
So no wonder when I was a kid, and I tried to like progress this rolling things. No wonder I couldn't roll things because the thing that I was trying to roll wasn't being moved in a way to roll it. It was being moved like in a spinning direction.
It's just so interesting too. Like, I don't know how to put this in words. So your brain's trying to spin the wheel, but now you're shifting that to a left or right or forward backward movement. It's interesting. It's the whole brain thing part is very interesting to me because it's not like I'm moving it with my hand. I'm trying it with my brain, if that makes any sense at all. But
Yeah.
that's why it took a little bit for me to grasp, and then it clicked, and I was like, okay, I get it now. And that's what all this is. It's progression, and it's making us think differently, and that's what I love
Yeah.
about this too, and how the benefits of in life, not real life, but in life, in believing in ourselves for so many different things, that hold us back. Um, yeah, so that's really
Massively.
awesome. Yeah, I did try the ping pong ball and the cup. No movement yet, which also our brain wants to say, oh, you failed. This is fake. This isn't real. And you just have to keep going and keep trying, correct? I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go back to the wheel. Do you go back to the wheel and then say,
No, just one of the reasons I recommend to try different things. So first off, I recommend to move from the side wheel onto something else as early as possible. But you can always go back to the side wheel because you want to practice different kinds of control.
true,
But I always recommend to just try different kind of like try side wheel with different material, um, different piece of paper.
heavier? Yeah.
Yeah, different location. Um, the mind really works very well with novelty. Novelty is so important. You know, like that's such a big dopamine driver for us, and dopamine is extremely important for us to when it comes to learning. Because if there's a neuronal pathway that is being built and you have dopamine as well that's being signaled at the same time, that
Yeah.
pathway can be done in one repetition rather than 15, 20 that it might take without dopamine.
Interesting. Okay, that does make sense. Okay. Wow. Wow. It's so crazy. So having the hypnotherapist side of you too has really helped with all of this as well, thinking
Yeah.
differently because the way you explain things is a lot differently than I've heard, and I absolutely love that.
I've been incredibly lucky to have a uh, phenomenal hypnotist as a mentor in while I was in the UK, and then he basically passed me on to an NLP
Oh yeah.
trainer, who then is my current mentor, and again phenomenally lucky because he's probably one of the best trainers of anything in maybe in the world. He's incredible, and his whole mission is to um, improve people's lives with NLP and also help people improve other people's lives with NLP and training and developing people and coaching people. So he is James Sakalos is my NLP mentor,
Okay.
and James Tripp is my hypnotist mentor.
Okay. James Tripp. And what was the first name again? James Sakalis?
James Sakalos.
Sakalis.
He's based in Melbourne, Australia.
Okay. Great. Well, you've been all over.
Yes, I went after. Yeah, I moved to Australia to apprentice
Wow.
with James.
Can you explain what NLP is a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a lengthy name, neuro linguistic programming.
Mhm.
It also has a lot of it has a lot of baggage. It has a lot of negative connotations with it because in the last 20, 30 years, it's been applied in a lot in sales, and also the standards and certifications have become very, very poor for it. So way back when, it would have taken about 30 days to get a practitioner certification. Now you can get it in a weekend. So you
Whoa.
get a lot of people, yeah, and then they start training people as well after another weekend.
Wow.
Um, my my with James, like it's been I counted at one point like how many, like we're over 100 days in terms of training, well over 100 days for everything. It's way beyond that, but I don't want to, because this is being recorded.
Right.
And I can't remember the exact number. I don't want to
No, it's totally fine.
completely talk out of my butt, but it's definitely in the three digits.
Wow.
Um, and NLP at its core, the co-creators is modeling somebody's expertise. So you take somebody that is very good at something, and you learn to dissect it. You don't learn, you dissect it,
Mhm.
and you take it, and then you learn how to be able to pass that on to somebody else so that they can then do it. So you deconstruct something, and then you pass it on to be able to teach someone else. And the reason that's necessary is because most people that are the best at something are doing it completely unconsciously. They don't really know how they're doing it. And it started off with Fritz Perl, when Grinder and Bandler, the co-creators, and I think Puslik was involved in this one too. Um, Fritz Perl was a psychotherapist, and he was just incredible at creating change, just absolutely incredible. He would get change with people that uh, they went with a bunch of other therapists, and it didn't work. And they took his expertise, because Fritz Perl would explain to people how he would do it, but nobody would be able to get the same kinds of results that he did. And I think it was Bandler that was the first one that got the exact kind of results that Pearl was getting.
Mhm.
And then he showed it to Grinder, and Grinder was trying to figure out what was going on, what kind of language was he using, what was happening. They couldn't get it. Only if they imitated exactly the accent and everything were they able to get it. And then finally, because Grinder did have like a linguistics background, he was able to figure out what it was that was making the change.
So interesting.
And then they applied that to a bunch of other therapists because that was their kind of their domain. So NLP started with therapy,
Mhm.
um, and then went into every field, sports,
Oh, okay.
um,
I guess you
music.
could use it anywhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Any sort of discipline you can apply this in.
Wow, that's so cool. I'd never heard of it before until I was researching you a little bit. So that's very interesting, just deconstruction and how that all ties in with what you do. Yeah. And how you can use that with training all of this, right? It's those little deconstructing and those little bits. Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
For me, the things that really have helped is because I try to model out what people do, and that can
Mhm.
definitely help. But I think the biggest help is some of the ways of thinking that NLP has produced, that my training with James, and both Jameses, really has helped, because it's a lot about first principles thinking. So like there's a lot of myths when it comes to telekinesis, you know, that people have kind of they've really propagated myths for a long time, for ever since I saw that first video,
Mm.
like that it takes effort,
Right,
or
right.
it's difficult to do, or all of these different things. And um, kind of breaking things down and actually seeing, well, what is actually happening. So that's helped a lot, because then when you break those things down, then you can actually, I'd say you're cutting corners and taking shortcuts, but actually it's not even that. It's just that before you're like taking the long way around when you didn't, you
Right.
go straight to.
Now you're going straight ahead and getting around
Yeah,
all those other things. Yeah. God, that makes
yeah,
so much sense. And again, how can that can help in a day-to-day life too, learning those things for
absolutely.
sure. I think
Yeah.
so. And the fact that you've had all this training with these amazing people. How blessed. That's just it's incredibly incredibly blessed person you are.
Incredibly, yeah.
But you also worked hard. I'm sure it was not just handed to you. Like you worked hard to get there.
No, but yeah, if being able to find the right people,
Mhm.
that's really really key.
And now tying it into your passion. I can
Yeah,
assume that this is like your passion
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. So going back to Extraordinaries, which I love the name, by the way, it's just perfection. How did you and Dahlia get to meet and get, decide to do this?
We met a year ago now at a Mindsight seminar
Okay.
that was happening in Orlando, and she was coming on as a demonstrator because she was already Shattered Mindsight opened up, and she was coming in to show what's possible. And I was coming in to be the hypnotist because I
Oh,
had already been running telekinesis trainings,
mhm,
and I was using hypnosis on the trainings and using some NLP concepts and doing stories and metaphors to help people like open up.
mhm,
And I called the organizer and I was like, "Hey, you know what? I think here's what I do. I think I can really help with mindset as well.
mhm.
Um, you want to give this a try?" And he agreed. And I went over there, and it was funny because when I met Dahlia, it was like I swear I knew her from before. It's like we knew each other from way before. It was
I've had
weird.
that with other people too, so I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like yeah,
Crazy.
it was so weird, and yeah, we spent quite a bit of time on the training, but it was afterwards it was nonstop. We just became like we became such close friends, extremely close
Yeah.
friends.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So cool. So then you just kind of connected like that and decided to let's do this thing together, which I think is
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. Because I was already doing telekinesis trainings, and I'm like, I
Okay.
think I might have told her soon after I met her. I'm like, you know what, like we should do like our own trainings at some point. Like that'd be really fun. But I was in Australia at the time in Melbourne.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like it was halfway across the world. And it's like,
Pretty
yeah,
difficult. So did you
yeah.
decide to leave there to come closer just for that reason?
And so my visa was running out.
Oh, okay.
Well,
There were other
I
reasons.
was gonna overstay my visa, but then I saw that I'm Canadian, so I can get into Canada easily. But then I saw in America, like they share information. I'm like, if I overstay my visa in Australia, they might not let me get into
Oh,
America. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should reconsider that.
okay. So there was more than one, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of guided you here anyway. That's so great.
One of the things I'll say this. So one of the
Mhm,
cool things is, and Dali and I found this out. Was really, I think even on that first one is that so many of the frames. So I use a lot of frames for
mhm.
telekinesis, and by frame I mean when you present something, depending how you present it, like um, what are the other things around that, somebody will receive it in a certain way. So, for example, they've done. This is just an example. It's a very cool one. A study that they've done. If somebody is given a warm cup of coffee or tea at an interview, the interviewer, if the interview is given that, they will mark the person that they're interviewing more likely as warm or open than when they're given a cold glass of juice or water or something.
Really?
So frames happen even on that sort of level. But if, for example, I come to you and I'm like, so I probably shouldn't be saying this, but um, so when I introduce myself as a hypnotist, I'll say, look, you don't need to go super deep into trance this time. There's a certain frame around that you can go deep into trance, and that you can go deep into trance with me, and that later on you will be going deep into trance. So
Interesting.
I say that with only just a few words, and then that allows me to facilitate somebody to go deeply into trance and then help them open up their beliefs about what's going on. Now, there's a bunch of other frames that I'm not going to say because if anybody comes on the trainings, I don't want to ruin those
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Don't give anything up.
But all of these frames are there to be able to allow people to open up and do these things more easily and develop faster. And Dahlia found that a lot of the frames and a lot of the principles that are in telekinesis and that I've been training with, they all map on to what she does with blind sight and blindfold vision. So it's all
Okay.
like the same stuff.
Now that clicks and makes sense. I get that. Because even when you just said that, I felt a like a pressure's off, right? It's like taking the pressure off that I'm not setting out and overthinking not being able to get to that goal. And you took
Yeah,
that pressure off and being
yeah,
able to, you can totally see how that would work. That's
yeah.
amazing.
And this is like it's peppered all throughout what I'm saying and when I'm training.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
constant. The first the first 2 hours or so is the introduction
Mm.
of the training, which is like full of stories and me saying stuff, but it's like it's
It's
there's a lot more happening
oh, that's so
than that.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that stuff. I love it, love it, love it. I just love how like um those I don't know what to call it, those little things that therapists do or hypnotherapists do that can kind of get you in places and the way our brain can be simply, I don't know, manipulated is not the right word, but it
Influenced,
influenced. You
guided.
have to think a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. Manipulation has a negative connotation, but it
It
is
does.
like we're always saying hi, how are you, and like smiling, even though maybe you're not feeling good. You're still trying to make somebody also feel good and not make them feel in a like have a bad day just because you're having a bad day. Is that
Exactly.
manipulation or is that like just well, people need to understand like what is everything that's happening is we're constantly affecting each other. We're always affecting
Absolutely.
each other.
Oh my God, absolutely. I've learned that a lot. I do hair, so I'm with clients all day, and I
Mm,
always know that, my energy is going to affect them and vice versa.
yeah.
But, they come here to me to seek solace mostly. And I'm that I'm that energy for them. So I get that totally. I was going to ask, have you trained Mindsight? Are your windows open? Is that something that you focus on?
Yeah, I have trained Mindsight. My Windows got so I've been to a few Mindsight seminars before, not with Dahlia was there, she was the demonstrator, and didn't really get too much
Mhm.
progress. On the last one that we did in Ogden, I actually got my Windows going, and I have one that's like right in front, which
Mhm.
is weird because it's like right in front through the mask, and then I got ones on the side that are like somewhere around like here somewhere.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
I train consistently too and doing it myself. So it's harder. It's a lot harder. And it's a lot harder to, is that really what I'm seeing? But if I had to guess, or my instinct is telling me that, yeah, I have one here, but I would have no idea how to figure out at this point, like what would be in the back. But that's for the future. That's for when it's time for me to do that, then,
It helps with mindset. It really helps to have a partner.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
helps. Yeah, because part of the so the reason Dali is amazing, like absolutely phenomenal as a trainer for mindset, is because she's come up with all of these ways to trick the brain into thinking one thing when it's actually something else,
Mhm.
and it's basically like you think that you're seeing it where you should be seeing it, where she showed you before, but it's actually somewhere else, and you still see it, and then that opens that window. She does that and practices that a few times with you. You don't yet know it's in a new place. Then she lets you know it's in a new place, and then that like stabilizes
Yeah.
that new window.
It's so cool. I've watched her and I can see that ticking in her brain of how she's doing it. And it, of course, it's taken me a while. When I first got a mindfold, I was like, this thing's defective because I can
Hmm.
see through it. I can
Hmm.
see, like, but and so started using another, blindfold, and then it just, I think I heard somebody or heard her say something about that, and it clicked. I was like, we're supposed to the light coming in. So it's all starting to make sense. But it takes time, and I can see how people can just totally push it away and say, this is, not real. You can see through the mask, et cetera, until you really get down to it and realize what's going on and what,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
that training part of
yeah,
it is. Because it does
yeah.
work for sure.
I I also thought like it wasn't like I also thought it wasn't real at my first seminar. I'm like, this isn't actually happening, and I'm like, this
That's
is
funny. You
this.
can move objects, right? But then you look at that
But,
and you're
but
like,
it's not that I didn't believe it's possible. I
I
totally thought
know,
it's
I know.
possible, but I'm like, this is not happening for me, and I'm pretty sure other people are. They don't. It's not actually happening for them. But it took a while of like, uh, so there's um there's a really important principle here about how these things work. And it's about the creating enough uncertainty in the mind of what is actually going on Um, what's that? What's that word in legal terms? Plausible deniability.
Mm,
Plausible deniability about something. So you want to create enough uncertainty in a situation where your mind is thinking, okay, that could that be happening because of like physical reasons, like normal physical reality reasons,
right.
or is it happening because of something else? So if you create this like space, open up a space of uncertainty big enough to allow both, okay, it's physical reality, or under the physical reality rules and under some superpower rules, but the space is big and open, and then you remain in that space and you keep practicing in that space. That's what will open up your abilities, because you're not asking your mind yet to commit to either side, that
Okay.
this is physical reality and that's what I'm doing, or that I have superpowers. Because either or, if you commit to this is just physical reality, then you're not actually opening yourself up to a new reality.
Right.
If you're committing yourself, okay, this is superpowers, your mind might not be okay with that, and people end up closing off after something like that. If you force yourself too quickly into that reality.
Correct. Right. Like with I
So
always say like the right brain, left brain part, and that left brain takes over.
yes, yeah, exactly. So stay in that uncertainty space, do it a lot, and push the boundaries into more of something that seems more supernatural. So like you're keep doing in that window that you're not sure if it is through the mask or not, but then keep pushing the color card further and further and further away.
Further away. Okay. Right.
And then at some point, then check and be like, oh my God, it's actually all the way over there. And I've done it 10 times. And I was like, I do have it. I do have it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, that's how you do that. Same with telekinesis. It's like people that are, but maybe it's like static, or maybe it's the wind, or maybe it's the heat from the hands. If they're on the training, I'm like, great. Yeah, maybe it is. Now play with that. Like, see what happens. Just play with that to get it started.
And that's
And
what I was going to bring up next too, is that, yeah, blow on it, push it, get that movement going, and then see
yeah,
if you can get it. That's another thing that kind of clicked with me recently too, where I felt like I had to be completely still, don't touch anything. You have to tell your brain that it's moving, and then yeah, anyway, it's so incredible. And these
yeah,
little things, these little tidbits of information, are just, and the way our brains work is so interesting. And then the pennies on the wall, the pennies,
yes.
which I did a couple days ago, and
Nice.
it stuck for, I don't know, like it did a couple times, like 2 or 3 seconds. And I went,
Nice. Nice.
ah! It was crazy. It was
Nice.
crazy. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. But you can see the difference. I can see the difference with like, I just keep saying putting the intention, or like giving yourself the permission slip, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
I can see the difference when my brain kind of peters off, or I think I can't do this, and it drops. But I can tell when I'm there because it will stick.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then wasn't there something too with like pennies in pockets? I think like Chris Fazio, I think.
Yes. So at the Ogden training, this was the first time I facilitated this. So I had no idea if this was going to work. But I did my best to act convinced that it would. We did a teleportation of pennies.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Hearing that word teleportation
I
just,
know. Yeah. Yeah. I know. This was out of my reality as well. I couldn't believe it.
that
It
is
wasn't.
so
It wasn't a huge number though. It was only we had 4 instances out of 30 people.
okay. Okay.
So
But it happened. And like what Chris
yeah,
said, he's a coin dealer. So he's been trained never to have money or coins in his
yeah,
pockets. And
yeah.
there it was.
Chris was one of them. Jeff Smith did it twice,
Okay.
and Nikki did it once.
That's so great. And
Yeah,
how did that work then? Can you explain what that setup was?
yeah, yeah. So it was simple. So I was at the front of the training room. I had a little red cup full of pennies at the front of the room, and got everybody into a bit of a trance first. Said a few things, and then I said, "Okay, let's." We're gonna. I told them what we're gonna do, but first we're gonna practice, rehearse a few times, and I want everybody to get up from their chair physically, walk up to this hotboard that I had in the front of the room and just grab a penny, walk back to your chair and put it in your pocket. And then we repeated that. I think we did it maybe 3, 4 times. I said, pay very close attention to the kinesthetic feeling of it, the memory, like get it really ingrained in your mind. Everybody put their pennies back. And then I told him, okay, now you're going to do it lightning fast. Like imagine you're, I think I said something like, imagine like the electricity that Chris Fazio has is like you send out this electricity out of your body and move with your soul the same, or your spirit or whatever, in the same direction, exactly how you did it. Grab a penny and go back to your chair. And the frame I set for that didn't actually matter because that's not how, I have no idea how it's done. How it's done doesn't actually matter, but I needed to provide people with a way to make sense of what's going to happen and something to work with. And yeah, I said, on the count of three, and when I hit this gong, you'll do it. 1, 2, 3, ding. And we did it 3 times, 3 separate times, 3 times. And then people checked, and people had pennies.
I just can't imagine that moment. I cannot imagine. Like, I want to be all y'all's best friends and do all this with you because this is insane. I just can't. It's incredible.
Yeah. So what was crazy, and I messed up big time because when it happened, and I think Jeff was the first one. I screamed and I jumped and I was like, oh my God, and I was jumping around like, ah. And I think Dahlia was jumping around, and I think Alec and like some of us who were like the ones kind of facilitators or trainings were super excited.
Yeah.
All of them were completely normal.
Are you
I'm like,
serious? Why did you say that like you guys screwed up by getting that excited?
because coming back to framing,
Okay.
I'm framing that's like not something that should be happening.
That's what I thought you meant, but yeah. But you can't contain yourself. How do you contain yourself with that?
How do you contain yourself with that?
And how come they weren't screaming up and down? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe I
should be
convinced
shocked.
them that it was going to happen and that they should expect it to happen.
Like, oh, I guess they didn't know this was going to work. That's great.
Yeah, but that's good that I guess that that happened. But yeah, yeah, no, I should not have reacted that way at all.
And I absolutely love your reactions when I've seen your reels on Instagram. Oh my God, it's just pure happiness and excitement, and it's incredible. I love it. And to think, like, I don't know, just like what you're saying, we look up to people like you, or some of us do, like you, Dahlia.
Ridiculous.
But we're all like, yeah, like you, but we're all the same.
Yeah.
You're no special than anyone else. I'm no special than anyone else. We can all do this.
Yeah.
And it needs to get out there and proven and explained. But there are always going to be naysayers, but we have to try to be the ones that make this happen.
So like I've had this discussion about naysayers and stuff before, and it's like people make a big deal about it, but it's really not. It's totally fine because you have 9 billion people now in the world. Like it's so normal that out of a population of like 1,000 people, a bunch of like 900, 800, 700 are not going to believe that, and that's okay because our job, at least my job, it's not my job anyway to convince them because I'm not taking on that role. There are people like Dean Radin, he's a parapsychology researcher. There's Alex Gomez, he's doing the Mindsight stuff. They want to prove it. They want to be the ones that prove it to people, to the naysayers. They're doing research. But if I'm doing research or trying to prove that, the progress that I'm going to be making in terms of what's like, I will never be getting to teleporting pennies, because I'd still be way behind trying to prove some more simple stuff.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
So my job and my role in this grand scheme of humanity's evolution is just pushing the boundaries of like, hey, you believe in this? Cool, Heather, let's go. Like, you believe in this. Like, I'm not trying to convince you. You already believe me. Let's try something cool. Let's see what happens. So
sounds like a lot more fun too than like pushing and fighting.
So, like for me anyway, yeah, I way prefer that.
Absolutely. But you're
Yeah.
right. It's like setting that focus, right? Instead of trying to fight the fight, setting the focus on individuality or each individual person and raising humanity's consciousness, if you want to put it that way,
Yeah.
and our beliefs. Yeah. Because again, in my head, I keep going back to how this can also relate to just day-to-day life. And it changes like how fear is just driven into us so much and how we're so afraid to do certain things. Like even me starting this podcast is something I never, ever, ever would have done. I'm in this place of just pushing through that fear in lots of different things, and how the things that you train or help train with these abilities also help with that. And believing in yourself, honestly. Yeah. And believing
Yeah.
that we're so much more capable of what we've been told and programmed to believe, which is hard. It's hard. It's hard to get through that, but that's why you're here. That's why you guys are doing what you're doing.
Yeah. One thing I explain to people, because people have asked me like, okay, so what? Like, what's the point of this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Which to me is like a crazy question, because I think that suggests like quite a lot of lack of like not thinking like in terms of to the sides, like what can come from this, but or like further moves ahead. Like this is huge. For me, it's just amazing because it's something really interesting, and like this is sounds impossible, but um, from I can speak from like how the mind is, right? Our entire reality is based on beliefs that we have. It's just beliefs, and that's how we are in the world, and how we act, and how we behave, and the choices we make, and everything. Something like this, like being able to affect physical reality with your mind, that's, in terms of beliefs, that's like a belief block, or whatever you want to call it, very, very close to the foundation of of the belief structure that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like surface level beliefs, or something like the like super surface level. The weather tomorrow is going to be in a certain
I
way.
was just thinking the weather. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super surface level. Like further deeper down inside might be something like, I am good at math,
Mm-hmm.
or I can't, I don't know how to code. That's like kind of in between, like
Right.
deeper level, like as you go down from behaviors, capabilities, skills, things like that, you go to things like things that are almost like identity, because this is almost like about the environment, the identity,
Right.
and because it's about you, what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now this is like, now take that belief block that's foundational, that everything else is built upon, and you basically remove it and replace it with a belief that I can affect physical reality.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. Like, just that one switch in belief, yes, mind blown. That one switch in belief changes your entire world, your entire perspective. That's almost like having an awakening, not in the traditional sense, but like an awakening of like, your life will never be the same from here. And you might not consciously know what changes exactly, because that's such a deep belief, but like there will be, like, it will have incredible effects over the years of your life.
Yeah. I can totally, absolutely see that in so many different aspects too.
So many different aspects.
This is kind of what we're talking about, but not really. But where I work, where my salon is, to take the trash out is in this there's a dumpster, and it's surrounded by a brick wall, and it has like gated doors. And yesterday I walked to take the trash out, and the door was not completely shut. It was a little open, and when I turned the corner to go in the door, it went and opened up for me. And I was like, did it do
Huh.
that? I don't know. I don't know. But it's starting to make me think, and not in a egotistical way,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's starting to make me think about things a little bit differently. I don't know. That was kind of sidetracked, but it was very interesting. It's making me think differently about a
Mhm.
lot of things, what I can do, not with opening the dumpster door, but what I can do and what I'm capable of. And the more I get into this, the more passionate I am about it.
Here's another thing. Something that so for me, when I used to do my telekinesis trainings back in Australia, they were 5 days long, and it wasn't just telekinesis. I would also include things like healing and manifestation as well.
Okay.
Um, so my background is also in I've done a little bit of shamanic stuff. I've done some magical practices.
Mhm.
So I was taking a lot of the stuff that I've learned and knew, and bringing all of that into the telekinesis training. Because coming back to how does this help? And it's like, oh, how this changes a few things. Well, it can change everything, because, for example, healing, right? What's healing really? You're affecting physical reality with your mind,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
And you're affecting your own body. So like it's not even outside of your body now. And it's cells, they're tiny. If you can move a sigh wheel or you can move a cup, you tell me you really can't affect cells that you're directly in communication with all the time? Like that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous to not, for that not to be a thing. Like that's like immediately self-healing becomes really, really easy. Healing others becomes easy. I had on the first training, I had a gentleman, very close, very good friend of mine, actually, Norm. Um, he had a walking stick for something like 20 something years of his life, and he couldn't walk well. He had issues. After that first training, he dropped the walking stick. He's never picked it up again. And he's been walking across Melbourne like he just tells all of his friends. Initially, after my first training, I never even was planning to do more trainings. But Norm, because of what happened to him and his friends hearing about it, he just like he's like, this needs to get out. So I owe a lot of this to him as well.
Wow.
So healing is a big deal. Now let's think about manifestation. So what's manifesting? Once again, you're affecting physical reality.
Yes.
Now, if we think about how manifestation happens, right? Let's say let's say we're talking about, I don't know, a job opportunity,
Mhm.
something like that. On a first person level, you're saying somebody says they want to get this, let's say an acting role. I don't know why acting. That seems like the right one. An acting
Awesome.
role, right? So first person, they want to manifest this acting role. They're thinking about it. 4 weeks pass, and then they land the perfect role that they were thinking about. What happened wasn't that reality all of a sudden, like boom, an acting role now just opens up, and here it is in front of you.
Mhm.
No, there was a bunch of things that had to happen from way before when they decided to start manifesting to make that happen 4 weeks later. So maybe somebody had to get an idea to come up with a certain kind of film. Maybe somebody had an idea. Okay, well, we're looking for this kind of a person, and they modified that a bit for them. Then, like this timing, maybe the advertisement had to be exactly when that person saw it, whenever it was, and apply it. Like there's all of these things that have to come together for that. Now, if you're familiar with nonlinear systems, chaos systems, these are
Mhm.
like things. It's things like systems that have a lot of variables. So, like for example, the weather again.
Mhm.
So, predicting the weather is really easy if it's in the same day.
Mhm.
You can be quite accurate. But with each day that passes, as time goes further out, the prediction starts to exponentially deteriorate,
Right.
because the smallest change on a variable in the present will have a exponentially bigger change as you go further and further out into the future. So the principles behind this are this: that okay, we know then that a very small change today, if you just put it out far enough into the future, can have a huge change impact. So something really small, really really tiny little difference now today can bring in a huge difference. It just, as long as it's further out into the future.
Right. Right.
Cool. Okay, then how can you not believe then, if you can affect the side wheel and distance does not matter, because we've been playing around with distance does not
Mhm.
make a difference. How can you not believe that you can change maybe just small changes in how the neurons fire for someone to make a decision on what they're looking for an acting role? You cannot make that change right now today, so that a month with all of these variables that exist in the universe will not land you an acting role. That's how this affects manifestation, because now you understand how this works. You understand you can move physical reality, you affect physical reality. And with all of these possibilities to actually make changes, of course you can manifest your entire life, and you are manifesting your entire life all the time.
That's mind blowing. That's perfectly said. And I never would have like put those two things together. Incredible. I'm gonna have to hire you. No, this is such good tidbits and things. It's just deep thinking and things that, surface level we just don't think about daily. And when you
Yeah,
do, it really makes so much sense, especially on the cellular level as well.
yeah, absolutely.
That's so crazy. Good for Norm. Does he
I love
still
it.
not use a cane? Does he
Yeah,
still
it's
not
always
use
not
a cane?
user cane. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh. And that was that a telekinesis training or was that a healing training? That was a
This was
telekinesis.
my telekinesis training. I would call it. I used to call it manipulating the matrix.
Oh, I like that. And the Portugal training, that's a facilitator training, correct?
Yes, the Portugal training is a facilitator training. Um, Lidu Dalia's daughter was the one that um, basically suggested
Said that
that
needs to
we
happen.
need to. Yeah, she said in Portugal.
And she said in Portugal,
She
really?
did in Portugal, yes, because initially I was like, let's do it in Spain. It's like, and she's like,
Yeah.
no, Portugal. Um, yeah, everything.
That is
That'll
so
be
cool.
that's further out. We don't have details for that. We have no idea. Ultimately, we want to get people to
Mhm.
train this properly, and like, because we can only do so many people. We can only work with so many people at once.
Yeah. Or would there be prerequisites for that, for the facilitator training?
It's funny because I was just asked that in an email today.
Mm.
I would say no, but the reality is, if it's people that have we've worked with already and that we know and we think they'd be good trainers and they want to go to that, then
Okay.
we would we would
Yeah.
select them.
Yeah. That makes sense. Makes sense. Then rather than somebody you don't know and where their belief systems are or what their abilities are. So when I saw that, I was like, I'm gonna do that one day. I'm gonna do that one day. Just feeling called to that.
That one's
Um,
going to be a really intense training.
oh, I
Um,
bet.
yeah,
I bet. Well, they looked like you guys had so much fun. Was it Ogden? In
yeah,
Ogden? Man, just and with Chris's energy there and him is exchanging the what is it called? Exchanging his
yeah.
electric.
The electrokinesis thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
My God. I was really deep diving a lot of his stuff recently, and I would love to meet him. I don't know, like everything about him, just it's so incredible. And it's
yeah,
not just his abilities too. Him just as a person, he just seems he's so humble about it, and
yeah.
afraid to put himself out there at times, but not just what he can do for people, but it just expands your mind. You really got to be open to see what he does because it's pretty crazy,
Yep, yep. Yeah.
but it's all out there. You can see it.
The next training is going to be wilder in Sedona.
I want to
So
go so bad.
don't worry, because the one after Sedona is going to be even wilder than Sedona, probably.
Okay.
But to give
Wait,
you a
that's
bit
not,
of,
is
huh?
that, is the next one after Sedona? Do you have an idea when that will be or where that will be?
Yeah, it's likely. I'll know more tomorrow, actually, but it'll probably be at the end of March
Okay.
in Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But details to be announced. We're kind of going, one after one after the next. We're getting a lot of requests for people to work with. We might do one in Australia. We might do one in Bali, one in Europe. It's North Carolina. There'll be one.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
closer to me. Yeah.
But Sedona is going to be so we're going to play around with magnetizing things that are not magnetizable. Obviously, sticking things to walls.
Mhm.
Um, we're going to do the teleportation again. Um, Dahlia was successful at cracking an egg and healing it.
Did you do it? Okay,
Yeah,
cool. I haven't
yeah,
seen that anywhere, but I saw somebody else do it. Okay, cool.
yep.
I'm loving everything that you're doing. And I thank you very, very, very much
Thank you,
for
Heather.
doing this and showing humanity what we're all capable of and that we can all do it. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate Daya and anyone that is, I was going to say fighting this fight, but pushing forward and pushing those boundaries. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that.
Okay. All of Alex's information will be in the description of this podcast. Is it okay to share your, I guess, the Extraordinaries
Yeah, yeah,
website
yeah, yeah. Of
and
course.
then your social, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Instagram and TikTok. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not too active on TikTok at the
Mhm.
moment. I'm doing more on Instagram, but
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay. I love everything you're doing. Seriously. So
Thank
my
you.
algorithms, like the last couple days, well, the last like week or two, I pop up and it's only you. I'm like, okay, this is a sign. And I'm loving all of this. So thank you so much again.
Absolutely.